Let's travel back in time to ancient Greece and meet the Mycenaeans, the very first Greeks. They lived a long time ago, from about 1600 to 1100 BC. They spoke an early form of Greek, the language we know today. These amazing people built incredible cities like Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos. They lived during the Bronze Age and were super skilled at making things out of bronze. They were also great warriors and sailed all over the Aegean Sea, even as far as Sicily and Egypt. They were fantastic builders too. Think huge, strong cities, fancy tombs, and beautiful palaces decorated with colorful paintings. These palaces were like the heart of their cities, where everything important happened. The Mycenaeans are also famous because they're the heroes of some very old stories, like the Iliad and the Odyssey. These stories tell us about the Trojan War, a big fight between the Greeks and the Trojans. The Mycenaeans even had their own way of writing called Linear B. We can read it now, and it tells us a lot about how they lived. We found lots of cool things they made, like shiny gold objects, which show us how rich and clever they were. The Mycenaeans were really important because they built the first really advanced society in Greece. They were creative, brave, and started many things that became a big part of Greek culture later on. The Mycenaeans were ruled by strong warriors. In the middle of their cities were giant palaces. These weren't just homes for the kings and their families, they were also important places for business and religion. Big, strong walls surrounded these palaces to keep them safe from enemies. The walls were covered in colorful paintings that showed scenes of hunting, fighting, and religious ceremonies. These paintings give us clues about how the Mycenaeans lived and what they believed. Mycenaean warriors were very skilled, and their weapons and armor were the best around. They were experts at making things from bronze, especially swords, daggers, and spears. They even had chariots. These fast two-wheeled carts helped them win lots of battles. The warriors were the most important people in Mycenaean society. They spent their time fighting, hunting, and having big feasts. They were strong and proud, and their armies helped them build a big empire. But the Mycenaeans weren't just warriors, they were also great artists and traders. They made beautiful pottery, jewelry, and other fancy things that they traded all over the Mediterranean Sea. They were good sailors too, and their ships traveled all over the Aegean Sea, trading and setting up new towns. Farming was also important to the Mycenaeans. They grew wheat, barley, olives, and grapes. They also raised animals like sheep, goats, pigs, and cows. This meant they had plenty of food to eat and could trade with other civilizations. The Mycenaeans also had their own religion. They believed in lots of different gods and goddesses, some of which the later Greeks also believed in. They thought these gods controlled their lives, so they gave them gifts and made sacrifices to keep them happy. The Mycenaeans were incredibly important to Greek culture and history. They created the first complex civilization in Greece, which influenced Greek art, buildings, and stories. Many of the famous Greek myths and legends we know today started with the Mycenaeans. They also changed Greek art and architecture. They invented new kinds of buildings like the megaron, a big rectangular hall where the kings sat on their thrones. And don't forget those colorful wall paintings. They tell us so much about their lives and beliefs. One of the most important things the Mycenaeans gave us is their language. Their writing, Linear B, is the earliest form of Greek. Even though their civilization disappeared a long time ago, their language lived on and became the Greek language we know today. The Mycenaeans left behind lots of objects like pottery, jewelry, weapons, and tools. These things help us understand how they lived, what they believed, and the art they made. The Mycenaeans were a powerful and exciting civilization that was super important for the development of Greece. Their art, buildings, language, and warriors left a mark on history that people still talk about today. What happened to the Mycenaeans? Why did such a powerful civilization disappear? Historians are still trying to figure that out. It seems like a few different things happened at the same time. One big problem was the weather. There was a long time without much rain, which meant farmers couldn't grow enough food. This made the Mycenaeans weak and easy to attack. Another problem was new technology. People learned how to make weapons out of iron. Iron was easier to find than bronze, so everyone started using iron weapons, and the Mycenaeans' bronze weapons weren't as good anymore. Fighting between different Mycenaean kingdoms also caused problems. They fought over land and power. which made them weak and easy to attack from outside. Eventually, the Mycenaean palaces were destroyed and their civilization collapsed. This time is sometimes called the Greek Dark Ages. We don't know exactly why they disappeared, but it was probably because of the weather, invasions, and fighting amongst themselves. The end of the Mycenaeans also marked the end of the Bronze Age in Greece. It was a time of big changes, but it also led to new ideas and inventions that shaped Greek history. Even though their civilization ended, the Mycenaeans lived on in the myths and legends told by later Greeks.